Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Strategic Thinker. I'm Dr. John Meis, and I'm here with Dr. Jason Howell. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great, John. It's good to see you.
Awesome. Good to see you too. So we thought we'd talk a little bit today about driving culture in your organization. And one of the places where we have the opportunity to do that is with onboarding employees. And so I thought we would go through just a really quick matrix on how to think about onboarding employees and how to make that be as effective as possible and set you up and set the employees up for even greater success. Make sense?
Sounds like a great plan. Yes, very important.
So when it comes to onboarding, I always think the very first thing that we should be talking about is really our cultural foundation. So that's our mission, vision, and values. So, Jason, when you have somebody new coming on board, what are the ways that you do that for new people in your organization?
Well, we start with even talking about the mission, vision, and values on our interview process.
Yes.
We want to make sure that we're letting them know who we are. An interview is, we always think about it. We want to find out more about the interviewee, but it's a great opportunity to let them know what our organization is about. We want to make sure that they're a fit for us, but hopefully we're a fit for them as well. And then we also dive right into it when we do hire new employees. Have a packet that we'll go through that does have our mission, vision, and values, sharing what ultimately, why we do what we do. And I think that's so important. A lot of us focus so much on what we do, but really getting down to the why we do what we do. And I think that's sets a great foundation for the growth of the employee and the growth of the organization.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Particularly now in this environment where team members are scarce, hard to find, and we have to make sure that we keep everyone that we possibly can, because there's not another one standing on the corner waiting to jump in.
Right.
So the next thing on our onboarding process, I think, is really important to talk about expectations. And this is a two-way street, right? Our expectation of the employee, their expectation of us as employers. And I think this is a really slick way of just helping them understand what are some of the things that are very important to the organization that they're going to fulfill, and vice versa. So this is really a conversation. And
go ahead. One other thing I would add to that is, in this day and age, in this culture, as you mentioned, employees are scarce. We are seeing more and more of our new hires have no dental experience whatsoever. And when you don't come from a family of dentists, or you're not involved in dentistry, really you don't have any idea what you're jumping into. And so setting those expectations, even in the interview process, but definitely early in the beginning, is so important, because a lot of these new hires that don't have any dental experience, within a couple of weeks, they're so overwhelmed. And so setting expectations on, what we expect from them, but also giving them the expectation of what dentistry really is, what's it involve. It's a people business, and a lot of people don't realize that either when they get into it. And this goes with even, hiring new dentists as well, and new hygienists, brand new out of school, really helping them understand what the expectations of dentistry is and what our expectations of team members and support for them as well.
Yeah. And when people reach that overwhelm, where maybe your expectations overwhelm their capabilities, super important to make sure that you recognize that, because nothing will drive somebody out of an organization faster than being in that overwhelmed state for a prolonged period of time.
Right.
Which brings us to the next one, which is support. How making clear what kind of support that employee can expect, and being willing to identify places where maybe this employee needs extra support in this area, this one needs less in that area, and more in another area.
Yeah, and I think with the support comes, it really falls back on us as the leaders of the group and the leaders of the practice. Is what we involve with new hires is weekly check-ins. And I would suggest, even not with new hires, but with current employees, at least the very minimum monthly check-ins. A lot of us have a monthly team meeting and things like that, but I don't think that does enough to really support or check in with individuals. And so we like to make sure that we're checking in one-on-one with individuals and really provide that support. The other thing I would mention, as we're growing as an organization, and as a lot of our viewers on here are trying to grow their own organizations, is right now is such a prime time to grow and expand our groups. There's lots of purchase opportunities, lots of growth opportunities, but having a really strong support organization as the growth occurs. I've been involved so many times that our growth has exceeded the support supplied. Yes. And I always like to remind people that it's great to grow as long as you grow in a responsible and safe manner. And I know I've heard you say that many, many times. We want to grow quickly, but we want to grow smartly. And I think the support portion is sometimes overlooked. And that is so key when you're growing and adding new employees, new doctors, new locations.
Yeah. If you grow faster than you can support it, things are going to, the wheels are going to fall off that bus. And I've seen it happen so many times. Now, organizations have, private equity money coming in, so they have more money than they can deploy well. And so it's a lot easier to buy or build practices than it is to run them. And so we have to make sure that we keep that in balance on an individual level, but also on an organizational level.
Correct.
So the next piece that I think is important is people and places. Making sure that when we onboard, that person really gets connected to the people. And one of the ways of doing that is making sure that they know who their boss is, and also linking them up with a buddy. I had an employee one time who, after 4 days, quit. And in the exit interview, I was saying, like, what happened? I thought we were going good. And she said, nobody likes me here. And which was really inaccurate. Everybody liked her. Everybody thought she was a great fit. And I was saying, from what I see everybody likes you. I haven't heard a word of anything other than that. And she said, well, nobody invited me to lunch. So all the team would go off in different groups to lunch, and no one invited her. And she felt like they didn't invite her because they didn't like her. So I really felt bad for that employee, because she did, even though that wasn't true, even though I tried to talk her into staying, that was it for her. She just felt so awkward socially. And so we have to connect people with people. And the other thing is connect people with places. So when I think of places, I think, okay, here's where you're going to be working. Here's where you put your purse or your coat or whatever. Here's where we do this. Here's where we do that, to get them ingrained into what are the normal things. So although those things sound simple, they really aren't, and they're really important. And if you fail to provide them, it just is one more piece of stress that new employee has that's unnecessary. It's just a very simple conversation. And we can lower the stress level on new people coming in, because we all know it's stressful enough already. Right.
Yeah. And you make a very unique point, is that, people want to feel a part of something. And so, we have new hires come in, and we're still at the daily grind, and we kind of forget what it was like for our first day. So making sure, what we've done in our practices and suggest to others is, on that day that they come in, we have a little welcome, banner or poster board, and their locker is decorated, if you have lockers, or their operatory they're going to work out of. Things that just really help them understand that, we are really excited to have a new employee join us. And the other thing I would mention with people and places in having a buddy is a mentor, assigning somebody to be kind of their mentor to bring them on. I know that you and I both feel very strongly about mentors and mentorship, and I know I wouldn't be where I am without it. But so anytime we have a new hygienist come in, we have one of our hygienists becomes their mentor, and same thing. Usually one of our assistants will kind of take over as the lead mentor in there. And we do that with dentists as well. So when we have a new dentist come in, we want to make sure they've got somebody that they can bounce ideas off of, because everywhere's different. Every time you walk in a new practice, although it's dentistry, everything's done a little differently. So important to pair people up and make sure they have, what we would call a trudging buddy. I mean, somebody's got to help them get to where they want to be.
Yeah. Yep. So true. The next part of onboarding that I think is important is the key processes. So really helping them to understand not all the detail, but just understand that we have some core systems that we use in our office. There are what leads to our success, the ability to do things in a predictable manner so that we can have a consistent patient experience is very important. And I think it's important for new employees to understand that our practices are process driven. We do have systems, and that's how we do things. And so letting them know kind of what the handful of really super core processes are and why, I think is important to help people get started. And of course, one of those processes is, what is the process for training? And right. So we use the 3-3-3 system, but there's many different types of training systems, but helping them understand what their role is in the training, how much of it is self-directed, how much is going to be mentor-driven.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we all operate with processes, and having some sort of training module is so important. And what we have at my practice, and I've done this at many years at different practices, is I practice in J-Town, Kentucky, and at our practice, I call it the J-Town way. And it's just a simple list. Instead of all the different processes we have, it's a list of about 10 things. And it's the 10 core things that we do every day for every person that is just our way to do it. And it's very simple, but it makes us a little different. And so the very first week, we go through the J-Town way. And then I am a big believer in, let's focus on the top 1 or 2 things that's most important at a time, and let's just nail those down. So usually what we'll do is every day or two, we'll have 2 main things that we're going to focus on, and we'll do those and talk about them for a couple of days. Then we might have two others. After a week, we've already knocked out the 6 or 8 or 10, and that's fantastic. So
we've lost Jason here. And so the last one,
there
you go. You're back now.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right.
I'm back. Technology at its finest.
Yeah, that's right. You never know when we're going to get a little internet wobble.
But as I said, just having those processes in place and remembering not to overwhelm the individual, but having some specific things in a good system as far as how do we knock those things out in a relatively easy, timely manner.
Yeah, awesome. And the last thing that we think are important on the onboarding process is to have celebrations. And so celebrations are simply identifying things that are going right and making sure that we're giving lots and lots of positive reinforcement to the new employees. All of us perform better when our confidence level is high. And when we're starting something new, our confidence level is naturally not very high, right? And so we got to make sure that we are giving energy to this, and celebrations are a great way to do it. One of the great management books talks about walking around and finding people doing things right. And I think that's really what I mean by celebrations, is just finding any little thing that they're doing well, doing correctly, and just making sure that you recognize the fact that they're doing well and giving them that confidence, which allows them to have even more extra energy because they're not churning up with anxiety about whether they're doing well or not.
That is so important. I mean, we in the dental profession, we are so busy, and sometimes this is such an important piece that we forget to do on a daily basis. We talk to a lot of groups, and it's, once a month we do this, or we might have go out for lunch or have a pick. But the small little daily affirmations, just that they did a great job on a 2-on-1 handoff, or that they really helped this patient feel more comfortable, or, the celebrations of teamwork, somebody was running behind and the other person got their patient back. Doesn't seem that large in the moment, but acknowledging that and acknowledging it on a daily basis and in a timely manner, it's so important on the morale of the team.
Well, very good. So those are our tips on onboarding and how to drive your culture into new people coming on board. Jason, thanks. As always, great job.
So good to see you. And thank you again, as always, for having me on. Really appreciate it.
You bet. And that's it for this week's Strategic Thinker. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.